Good day, mates! Welcome to our Valentine's special. Today we are talking about a love story. But this is not just any love story, no. This is the love story of Great Britain and American colonies. How they got together, who broke whose heart, and in the end why they broke up. Or in this case, who was the one to break the other's heart. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Luke.
Luke who?
Look who got a Valentine! So Great Britain and the American colonies had been going steady for a while now, but America was all give and Britain was all take, which can be difficult because it takes two to tango. For example, the Townshend Act, which in 1767, British Parliament began passing legislation to tax colonists in order to pay off the debts from the French Revolution. The colonies disliked the fact that they had no representation on the taxes in Parliament. Colonists began to boycott the taxation, which resulted in Britain sending British troops to occupy them. Boston to keep order in the colonies. For a relationship to work, you have to communicate. So things were starting to become tense, and that's when their first fight happened, the Boston Massacre. It was March 5th, 1770. An argument between the British soldiers and colonists began to escalate when a mob gathered and started throwing ice and rocks at the British. More soldiers started appearing to the scene to maintain the chaos, but the sight of armed soldiers only angered the colonists, who began daring the British to take fire. An object was thrown from the crowd, struck one of the soldiers, knocking him down, who then fired into the crowd. After seconds of silence, other soldiers fired into the crowd as well. A total of 5 colonists died. Crikey, pro tip! Don't be with someone who treats you the way Britain did to the American colonies. Well, I hate to break it to you, but it was all downhill from there. For example, Lexington and Concord in 1775. On the Lexington Common, British forces were confronted by militiamen who began shooting. The militiamen stopped the British at Concord before they could carry out their plan to capture leaders like Sam Adams or John Hancock. After their encounter, the British knew that the colonies were to be taken seriously. This was the start of America's long, bloody path to independence. The love was lost. That's when America sent Britain their breakup letter, the Declaration of Independence. America needed to be blunt, so it states the reasons why the British colonies of North America saw independence in July of 1776. It was drafted and approved by the Continental Congress. This changed their whole relationships. Besides the independence from Britain, it led to the Emancipation Proclamation, which granted black slaves their freedom. It paved the way for equal rights among men and women. We can see the effects more today than they did in the past. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. It also led to an official alliance between the colonists and France. Not only did it affect America, but the Declaration also had effects on nations such as France's Declaration on the Rights of Man and Citizen, and eventually had effects on the Declaration of Independence for the Democratic Republic of Vietnam. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Single.
Single who?
Single you! Because they just broke up. Checkmate! So America was done with her toxic partner and wrote the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights explains American rights in relation to the government. All in all, it's the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. These amendments explain in detail their civil rights and liberties, such as freedom of speech, religion, press, assembly. It also states that all powers not delegated to the government go to the people of the U.S. America was becoming a strong, independent nation. The Constitution was the last step to leave Great Britain behind and be healthy. The Constitution describes the 3 chief branches of the federal government: executive, legislative, and judicial, and their powers. It also lays out the basic rights of the citizens. It was made in Philadelphia in 1787. The U.S. Constitution is the oldest federal constitution in existence and was framed by a convention of delegates from the 12 of the 13 origin states in Philadelphia in May 1787. Rhode Island was the one failing delegate to be there. But when the breakup occurred, America forgot to think about some people in their lives. Slaves. The condemnation of slavery was never mentioned in the final draft of the Declaration of Independence. In Jefferson's draft, he attacked slavery, stating that cruel war against human nature itself, violating its most sacred rights of life and liberty. Who else was left out of the democracy? Women, Native Americans, African Americans, and the poor. In the southeast corner of North America, Spain had the most to gain if the Patriots won their aid. They could take back all of Florida and perhaps even part of Britain's nearby Caribbean colonies. Yet, standing in the way, there were two highly unpredictable groups, Native Americans and slaves. For slaves, individual freedom carried tremendous trade-offs, particularly in the loss of one's family. Even after the British military extended Dunmore's offer to Georgia slaves in 1778, the same drawbacks remained. Only men of a certain age could fight, and their families were not guaranteed safety. I reckon that America's choice to leave Britain was the best option for both parties involved. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Frank.
Frank who?
Thank you for loving me. Thank you for tuning in to History Hunter. Tune in next time.